I bet you guys will figure it out. I woke up with a really swollen eye today. My allergies have been really bad, so I think that's what this is from. So I'm going to stay far away from the camera today. We're going to give it about 1 or 2 minutes and just go ahead and get started for today. I'm going to do just some really good old basic mat exercises, maybe throw an inversion in there if you guys are into that type of thing. If you're not comfortable with being upside down, definitely don't participate. Maybe just watch and ask questions afterwards if you have them. Grab pillows if you have them. We'll use these for a little bit of support today. I use 2. If you want a band and you know you like it for some of the exercises, grab it. If you have a block, we might sit on it or use it as a prop. Go ahead and grab that. Everybody's having a lovely morning. It was supposed to be rainy and cold in Colorado, and it's not. So I'm excited to go on a bike ride later. I'm gonna see if looks like Facebook is still working as of now. I'm gonna let everyone have about 1 more minute and then we'll get started. Disclaimer that these classes may not be for everybody. If you have a serious injury, please talk to me about it first and we can decide if that is something that we can do remotely. And if not, we can just wait till I get to go back to work and I can teach you Pilates then. Let's go ahead and get started. If you need a little support under your head, go ahead and grab it. I'm gonna lay down on my back to start. I'm gonna find a nice comfortable position, spreading the weight across the shoulder blades, letting the arms just dangle down by the sides for a minute. And let's just start with a couple of deep breaths. Just noticing how your body's feeling this morning. It's Friday, it's the end of the week, if anyone is even paying attention to what day it is. The only reason I do it is so I don't teach class. Remembering all the fun food we ate this week. All my crazy animals that might make a cameo in the video. Got one of them meowing like crazy right now. And start to notice your contact points into the mat, the back of the pelvis, feeling weighted. Notice what's happening throughout your lower back, throughout that natural little curvature in the spine that you have. Seeing if there's any tension there, if maybe you can just soften. And noticing the back of the rib cage as well, just gently resting into the mat. Shoulders are heavy, letting them fully release in gravity. Noticing your head and neck. Checking in, maybe a little rock from side to side in the head. And back to center. Take a big deep breath in, feel it fill up through your belly, into your lungs, and up through your chest. And exhale it all away. Noticing how we'll do this maybe at the end of class and seeing how we feel now comparative to at the end. Floating your arms up towards the ceiling. Both arms are going to do a gentle reach towards the ceiling so that you feel the back of the shoulder lift from the mat, and then relax the shoulder back down. Just a little tiny movement, waking up the shoulder blades. I don't know about you guys, but it did not wake up too long ago. And like you're trying to reach for your coffee, that someone's dangling above you. And letting the shoulder blades fall back to the mat. Don't try too hard here. Just think, reach until you can't reach anymore. We're not trying to get super tense or try super hard yet. And lower. And now lift one more time and just find a little halfway point in between where you're not fully relaxed back to the floor, but you're not reaching all the way forwards. And then we're going to slowly try to take about 20 seconds to let the arms travel behind you. Just letting the shoulders glide in the socket. See if you can get your thumbs to touch the floor. And then slowly take that same 20 seconds to float the arms back up. That's the first thing of the day, first movement of the day, at least in my class. Let it just happen. Now, just trying to notice some things. Is the position of your spine changing? We're at a cameo. Hi, puppy dog. There you go. As the arms go back, see if you can notice a little heavier feeling and sensation through the upper ribs. And flow back to the ceiling. Okay, let's do one more, making sure the arms try to stay straight. If they don't, keep them above the ground before they bend. We'll lift back up. And now we're going to let the arms travel out towards the other side. Slowly open the arms out to a T. And then flow back out towards the ceiling. If you'd like to make this harder, grab some hand weights or whatever you can find in your kitchen. 16 ounces is a pound. You guys can do the math there. Slowly letting the arms travel out towards either side. See if you can hover the arms above the ground just for a moment, and then floating them back up towards the ceiling. With as much ease as you can control. Pause out there this time, and let's do some snow angels. Letting the arms travel up towards the top of the mat, and then slowly back down to that big capital letter T. If that doesn't feel great, bring the arms up a little bit higher. See if you can rotate the palms backwards so your thumbs are pointing down. I'm going to do that again. Do 2 more times. Maybe you can make a fist with the hands if you're not holding a weight or anything. Next. 2. Nice, easy breaths. You'll notice you might feel a little tremor, or a shake, or some work starting to happen. I did that on purpose. So reaching the arms out towards the T. Slowly, slow as you can, bring the arms back up towards the ceiling. Nice, let's go ahead and float the arms down by the sides. And we're going to move into some bent knee openings. Okay, so you're going to let your right knee open as your left knee stays still. You're going to bring it back up towards the ceiling and alternate opposite side over. Just trying to feel where the movement's coming from, what you're noticing from hip to hip. Softening the shoulders that we just warmed up slowly. And now noticing the orientation of the pelvis, trying to think about stillness as you open through the femur into the hip joint with control. If you'd like to put a band around your thighs, you have the option to do so here. You can still hold weights in your hands and hold them above your head even, make it a little bit harder. So many options to make it harder. Not many ways to make this much easier other than taking your range of motion down. Okay, so really notice, maybe you can take your hands onto your hip bones here as you open and close to make sure that the hip bones are staying still. Like you could balance a marble right in the center of your pelvis, right about 2 inches below your belly button. Back up into center. Let's move into dead bugs. You're going to let one leg float up to tabletop with that same sensation of stillness through the pelvis. And you're going to let it come back down. Plant the foot firmly on the mat before you lift the other side. We'll alternate back and forth. Another good check here is to make sure, hands on the hip bones, that you're not rotating. It is harder than it seems, so really try to feel and tune into your body. Pay attention to see if what'll happen is normally the leg that's lifting, sometimes that hip bone will try to drop down towards the floor. Sometimes it's helpful if you put your hands underneath your low back to see if there's any change in position in your spine. And when you're ready, we're going to take one leg up and we're going to hold it there. And then we're going to bring the other leg up to meet it. Okay, this might change your range of motion a little bit. That's okay. Arms can even come a little bit wider on the mat. We're going to let one leg dip down towards the mat. Inhale. Exhale, bring it back up. If you can get your toes to touch the mat without changing the orientation of the spine or creating any tension through your head, neck, or shoulders, awesome. If you notice that you get about halfway and your back starts to arch and you're like, oh, I can't control that, just pause your range a little bit sooner. If you're like, I can do that, no problem. Make the range bigger by bringing your knee farther away from your pelvis as you go down. So the angle changes a little bit. The leg is drawing farther away from you. It's almost like it was going to reach towards the end of your mat rather than right beneath you. Okay. Come back to your breath. Inhales to lower. Exhales to come up. One more on each side. Now we're going to go both legs. You're going to let both knees float down towards the mat as far as you can go without changing anything else. And then exhale back up. Little awareness to the lower belly. Exhale, pull. Inhale to lower. Keeping the tension out of the head, neck, and shoulders. Let's see if we can lower, bringing the knees out a little bit farther. The back of the rib cage stays heavy. Let's do 4 more like that. Three, if you have a ball, where it initiates from, and making sure that we're rolling back through the pelvis first. So we're closing that space beneath the lower back of the mat as we peel up and reaching the knees forwards. Okay? And then as you lower down, noticing that the movement comes from the upper back, lowering first. It's almost like the hips suspend in the air for a moment as we come. The tailbone is the last thing to touch. Okay, bridging up. And lift the arms to the ceiling. Now, as you come down, we're gonna lower the arms behind us. So same movement, just adding a little bit more dynamic range to it. Rolling back up, peel up. Arms are gonna float all the way forwards, like you were trying to reach your heels. Okay. And then coming back. Really long lengthening sensation through the body as the arms travel up and the hips travel down. Every time you lower the spine, think about making it longer, like you were trying to get your pelvis to sit a little bit further forwards on the mat each time. Even if it doesn't, that's okay. So we're gonna hold in the air. Okay, we're gonna let the arms come to the mat for these first few. And we're gonna start to march the legs. You're gonna let one leg travel up to tabletop and then back down. And opposite leg comes up and down. You can notice here how it's similar to an exercise we did before. And all the same principles are still applying here. When you're marching the legs, trying to keep the hips as steady as you can. Really plant that foot into the ground. Take an inhale, use your breath, and exhale to bring the other leg up. Naturally, you'll have one side that feels a little different than the others. That's okay. Think about pulling the heel back towards the sit bone before you lift the leg. We're going to pause on the leg closest to the camera. Reach the right leg up. Down and up. Lower the leg straight down. Lift up. Lower. Lift. 2. One more. Hips stay really level. Bring it down. Reset the hips if you need to. Maybe regain a little bit of height if you've lost it. Take an inhale. Reach the left leg up. Lengthen. Down. And up. Down. And up. If you need to lower your bridge a little bit to help keep your legs or your hips level, that's okay. Use your breath. We've got 2 more. Lift, bring the knee down, reset the hips, lift up, take a breath in, and slowly lower. Let the knees rock from side to side once you come down to the mat. Nice job. Reach back up. Reach the arms up and overhead. All the way back. And now, as we roll down, we're going to come up into a chest lift here, okay? So we're just going to add a little bit more movement onto it. We're going to roll down into the chest lift. As the arms float up, we're going to bridge up. Arms travel all the way back. As you bridge down, start to curl up, head, neck, and shoulders. Roll down through the upper spine, arms up, bridge up. Still thinking about opposition when you're in your bridge. Your knees are reaching forwards, your arms are reaching behind you, and then as you lower through the upper spine, we come up into this forward flexion. And then down. Awesome. Oops, I forgot my bridge. Let's do 3 more like that. Rolling out of the bridge, arms forwards, curl up, look towards the inner thighs. Roll down, bridge up. 2. And 1. Hold here. Float the legs to tabletop. Okay? We're going to pump the arms down by the sides and start to breathe in for counts of 5 and breathe out for counts of 5. If you want to pump the arms, great. Keep them straight and strong like you mean it. If you want to hold the arms and just do the breath, you can do that. For more of a challenge, extend the legs. Keep that neutral position through the spine so that you've got a little bit of space beneath your low back in the mat. Sorry, on the pillows. Shoulders, ribs, and hips are all in one big line here. And then we're going to take both arms in front of us, and we're going to start to reach the top arm just slightly forwards, and then lifting up, we're going to open back. You're going to let the arm float as far as it can, without letting any tension or hopping forwards of that top shoulder, okay? And then coming back up, think about initiating with your rib cage to come back up and over. Let me try to explain that better. So when you start, your top arm is going to initiate the movement. So just a little bit of a reach forwards. You're going to peel up with the arm. The head starts to follow along. And then pause at the ceiling. And now remember that this movement tries to come from your chest and you're opening the sternum, not just necessarily letting the arm travel to the floor behind you, okay? And then come back up and over. Peeling up. Nice big exhale to flow. Inhale, noticing if these get easier as you're practicing them. I hope they get a little bit easier. If you can, you should try to do these every day. They're really easy to do, really easy to remember. Let's do one more. Awesome. Let's roll on to the tummies before we come on to the other side, okay? So you're gonna go down to the mat. You're gonna let your hands come all the way back by your breastbone, okay? I'm gonna do just a little baby extension to warm up those extensors in the spine, all right? You're gonna let the feet reach really long to about hip width distance. The tailbone also reaches long, almost as if you were trying to hide it down underneath, okay? That should feel like you almost feel the top of the thigh press down into the mat. Just gonna give you some really nice length through the lower back. And then from here, pulling gently forward with your hands, you're gonna start to peel the head, neck, and shoulders up just to weight the bottom of the ribs. And then come back to and come up, extend, gaze comes just slightly forwards and down. Everybody's range will be different here. So if you look at me and you're like, that's not what I'm at today. If you come up to here, awesome. I want you to just try to avoid it being just a head movement. Try not to just lift your gaze forward. If this is where you're at, this isn't comfortable, just go ahead and rest on your mat. Think about lifting from that middle back, opening through the shoulders. The elbows are drawing down and back towards the heels as you pull the body through and forwards with your hands. Let's do 3 more and we'll switch to the other side of book openings. Inhale up and forwards. Come back down. And up. 2. Next one we're gonna hold. Gonna lift. Pull forward. See if you can maintain the position in your spine, in your pelvis. Keep your feet heavy and hover your hands. Just for a brief moment, maybe see if you can take a breath. Nothing should have changed. Maybe just a little change in effort. And then lower all the way down. We're gonna come on to the other side. You can face away from me or just switch sides with your pillows. We're gonna come on to the center of the mat again. Try to find where you're in a pretty decent straight line. So you've got the shoulders, ribs, and hips aligned. You're gonna let the arms come straight out in front of you. This is your book. And then you're gonna start to reach the arm up. You're gonna let the head travel along. It's always looking at the top arm. And then initiating with a rib cage, feel it pull back up. And exhale to your starting position. Inhale, reach. Let your top ribs stay heavy into the mat. The weight in your knees should stay mostly the same. If they lift a little bit from the mat, I'm not too worried about it. And just remember this big opening sensation through the front. That head stays heavy on the mat. Open. Feels so good. It's one of my favorites. I've definitely mentioned that before. 2, lift up. Exhale. Last one. Up and over. Back into the starting position. Let's roll back onto your backs. We're going to come into an assisted roll up. Okay, so we're going to take our legs into tabletop. We're going to bring the hands behind the thighs. And before we do the actual exercise, we're going to do just a little prep. Okay, I want you to pull the knees back as you bend your elbows. And then I want you to press the thighs into the hands until you feel the arms come to straight. And do that a couple of times. Just finding this nice push-pull sensation from the hands to the thighs. And start to notice that when you push the thighs away from you, once the arms come straight, you'll feel like your head wants to lift. And on the next one, that's in fact what we're going to do. So as you get to that position where you feel like the head wants to lift, you're going to nod the chin. Continue to press the thighs into the hands to try to come all the way up to a seat here. Okay? Now, that's where you get the assistance when your hands are pushing into your thighs to help you come up. And then you're going to lower back down, rolling through the pelvis, keeping a hold of the thighs. Keep the feet on the ground almost as long as you can, and then floating the legs up as you articulate the spine down to the mat. Inhale, you can have the knees in, press out, same sensation. Start a little nod to the chin. Exhale to come up and to seated. Trying to avoid using momentum to help you get to the top. If you get stuck, that's okay. Don't hoist yourself up there. Just start over, come all the way down. Good, let's do 3 more. Almost like you're a rocking horse, but a really slow motion rocking horse. Good, let's pause at the top of this one. Let your leg closest to me come straight down on the mat. You're going to take that same arm on that side, and you're going to bring it to the bottom of the opposite kneecap. Okay, so it's just coming across the body underneath the knee. The outside hand, the hand farthest away from me, goes to that bent knee's ankle. Okay, and then we're going to maintain this shape as we roll down to the mat for a little single leg stretch. You're going to take your time, try to move with control, let yourself roll back and maintain some forward flexion in your head, neck, and shoulders. Now we're going to just switch the legs in a hand position. Switch. So the legs just change positions straight ahead. The upper body stays in the same position the whole time. And almost use a little bit of pressure into the hands and shin, almost like that push-pull, to help you maintain the position in your upper body. And breathe. If this doesn't feel great on your neck, that's the only place you feel it, rest your head, neck, and shoulders down. Maybe you can let the legs go a little bit lower to make it still a little bit challenging. Keep going. Breathe. Maybe do a little pulse, pulse. Switch, pulse, pulse. Switch, pulse, pulse. Switch. We've got 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. Hug the knees in, rest down. Good. Now from here, we're going to do a straight leg variation of like scissors with a chest lift. Okay, so finding right leg straight up towards the ceiling. Left leg is going to reach out. You're going to hang on to the back of that right thigh. You can interlace the fingers. And then we're going to curl up, back into flexion. Maybe lower the hands a little bit. And we're going to switch. Breathe. Try to keep the legs straight if you can. Hovering the leg off the mat as they switch. Finding a little heat through the body. Just gonna warm up a little bit. 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. 1. Rest. Arms reach up. Always love that for a nice big stretch. Awesome. And then last but not least of this little mini series, we're going to go into the crisscross. So you're going to bring your hands behind your head to interlace your fingers. We're going to curl up, head, neck, and shoulders. And we're going to bring the legs into tabletop. Okay, from here, we're going to go right knee, right elbow to left knee. Opposite leg extends. Come back in and across and switch sides. Trying to stay lifted so that we're not really resting as we roll across from side to side. Try to open the elbow that's not reaching towards the knee out towards the side. It's challenging for me to talk and do. I love it. I need work on these always. Try to curl up to the knee rather than bringing the knee too far to the elbow. Let's go. 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. And rest. Outstretch everything onto the mat. Arms reach up and overhead. Legs are reaching long. Let's go in for some full roll-ups. We're going to take the arms forward. Lengthen the spine to come back up to a really tall seat. And then initiate from your pelvis to roll down. Feet will travel with you on the mat. Just try to keep them heavy so they don't feel like they lift. And then come all the way down. Let the arms travel up. Float the arms to the ceiling. Inhale. Use your breath, nod the chin. Start to curl up and round forwards. Lengthen the spine up, articulate, and roll. I'm going to do 3 more here. Here's 1. And down. 1 vertebrae at a time, best you can on the way down. Here's 2. And 3, last one. Inhale, arms to the ceiling, nod the chin. Reach the arms forwards, curl up, and stretch. Now, we're gonna end up down on the mat. If you have never done a rollover before in Pilates, watch me do one first, because I don't want you to look to the side while you're in an inversion, while you're in a rollover. If you're like, no way, I'm not bringing my legs over my head today, continue with some roll-ups, practice the assisted roll-up, do some more bridging, whatever, just keep moving, and we'll roll back down. We're gonna meet onto the mat. If you have any inversion contraindications or you're pregnant or anything, maybe just sit this one out, do something else that we practiced, okay? And we're gonna reach the arms long by the sides. We're gonna float the legs up to tabletop. And before we do the exercise, we're gonna prep a little bit, cross one ankle over the other. We're gonna let the pelvis roll backwards, the knees come towards the nose, and you're just gonna feel the pelvis lift up a little bit. And then let them drop out and away from you. Roll back and lift up and up and away. Feeling the pelvis start to peel up. Just kind of introducing that movement to the spine, okay? Now, if you're watching, just go ahead and watch, don't practice. We're gonna let the legs reach out to about 45 degrees. Arms can be a little bit wider here. We're gonna take a big breath in, and on your exhale, you're gonna feel the legs travel up and over, coming to wave across the shoulder blades, okay? The legs try to get parallel here. We're gonna let them split to just about shoulder distance, and then we're gonna roll down through the spine. Take your time, keeping your head, neck, and shoulders down, And then we're gonna do a little circle out and around and down. Peel up and over. Legs to shoulder distance. Think about keeping space through the vertebrae as you come down. Legs sweep up and around. 3 more. Lift up and over. Legs to shoulder distance. Resist the movement down like someone was pulling in opposition on your feet. So come down, up and around. 2. And 1. Lift up over. Shoulder distance. Up and around. Good. Hug the knees in. And a little rest. Really good job there. Let's come to our sides. And we're going to do a little side lying series. I'm going to do this propped up on my elbow. If that's not comfortable for you, you can lay it all the way down onto your pillows. And we'll get those hips and glutes warmed up. So we're going to come onto, I'm on my left elbow. You guys do whichever one you want. Just know to switch. And I'm going to let my bottom leg stay a little bit bent today. And then top leg is going to reach forwards. You can straighten both legs and make this a little bit more challenging on balance. I'm going to keep mine a little bit. Top hand can rest back and behind us. As far as you can go without changing the position of the pelvis. Okay, so it's forwards with the leg and back and forwards. If you're on your forearm, you've got a little bit extra attention to pay to your shoulders. You want to think about keeping the ribs kind of up and lifted from the floor. I like to do that actual cue. Did you see how I take my hand under and almost just give myself a little lift? A lot of things going on in this exercise. This is most mat exercises. Forwards, back, forwards, back. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, forward, leg stays at the same height. Upper body's position is the same. Good, now let the leg come just a little bit in front of the hip, and we're gonna lift and lower. Try to keep the foot parallel if you can, the knee parallel. Keep pressing into the forearm. Getting this nice little lift and lower. Think about reaching the top leg out and away from you. And we'll go 3, 2, 1. Hold it up, little pulses. Up, up, up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it rest. Hug it in. If it starts to burn a little bit in here, maybe give it a little punch or a little pat. That's always helpful. And then when you're ready, we're going to reach the leg back out. And we're going to draw circles up and around and down. Make sure that the size of your circle doesn't change the orientation of the rest of the body. Okay, so if you go up too high and you feel like it's just moving your whole body, maybe take it a little smaller and think about reaching the leg a little longer, drawing your circles even farther away from you. Switch directions. Keep pressing into that elbow. Keep that shoulder nice and open. If you need to look down towards the mat for a little less tension in your neck, that's fine. You've got 3, 2, 1. Rest. Good. Now let's go ahead and come into a little side plank. Okay, just one variation on this side. You're going to reach both legs long. We're going to do this on the forearm if you can. We're going to lift both legs and hips up. Hand comes to the top of the hip. We're trying to create this nice straight diagonal through the body. Hold, breathe, and lower. Okay, now one more set on this side and then we'll do the side lying series on the other. When you lift up, think about flexing the toes towards the camera. Lift both hips up. Try not to let the bottom ankle bone rest on the mat. Maybe the top arm comes up or even above the head. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest it down. Rotate to the other side. Okay. We're going to come on to either lay all the way down onto your arm, use pillows, or your forearm. If you have a shoulder injury on one side but not the other. It's okay. Do what feels right on each side. Bottom leg slightly bent for me. For more challenge, keep it straight. Okay, align the body so that you're in this long straight line from your head, shoulders, hips, and foot, and then start to lift the leg to hip height, and we'll come forwards and back. Keeping that little lengthening sensation through the ribs. Forwards, back. Keep pressing into the shoulder. Notice that when you go back, you're staying super still in the hips and the upper body. Three. Keep breathing. Maybe a little ankle movement. Nice. Let the leg pause just slightly in front of the hip line, and then lift and lower. Try to keep the foot and the leg parallel. The hips stay stacked. You're still lifting through the shoulder and the forearm. Up and down. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Little rest. Notice if you feel one side a little bit quicker than the other, or just the differences in side to side. Reach the leg back out and circles. And remember, this movement just comes from the leg rolling around in that hip socket. Think ease in your movement, just breathe. Switch directions. Awesome. For 3, 2. We're going to bring the hands back by the breastbone again. We're going to come back to that little baby swan a couple more times, but really try to find those legs reaching long and your tailbone getting that sensation of reaching down towards the heels, okay? I don't know if you can see me do that in the camera, but it's just a little bit of a pelvic movement just to find some length through the lower back, okay? And then we're gonna start to press down into the hands, pulling slightly forwards to come up into that swan. Okay? And then come back down, and roll up again. One more like that, and then we're gonna continue the movement. Here's a little prone press up and down, and then we're going to find all the way up on the next one if you can. So you initiate the same way, pull the hands towards, and then continue to straighten the arms to come up into your full swan, feeling the weight come onto the thighs. And then roll back down, draping the spine back down onto the mat. Again, roll up. Press strong into those arms. Feel yourself shoot up and out of the shoulders. Then down. Good. Let's do 3 more. Feeling the ribs gently drop up and in. If you don't get your arms all the way straight, you come to here. Great. That's fine. Let's do 1 more. Lift. Hold, look to the right, head comes down, across, look to the left, come to center, look to the left, head comes down, roll across, come to center, bend the elbows, come down, press yourself up and back into child's pose for a little stretch and rest. After that nice extension, let your head fully rest on the ground. Sit bones and tailbone widening. Good. And let's come up to a 4-point kneeling position. So we've got shoulders on top of wrists, hips on top of knees. You can have your feet flexed or tops of the feet heavy here, whatever's more comfortable on your knees, basically, or your ankles. Okay, and then let's just give it a little cat-cow out of the way. So we're gonna round the spine, draw the tail down, and then Let the tail come out as you almost pull your chest forwards and through for your extension. Nod the chin, round through the shoulders, lift through the belly, draw the tail down. Let the tail come out, undulate through the spine, and pull forwards. One more time all the way through, round. Lift, tail out, and pull forwards. Now find about a halfway position in between the two of those. Keep the knees at about hip distance. And we're going to start to reach one arm out in front of us and bringing it to about shoulder height. And then you're going to come back underneath. And reach here forwards and lift the shoulder and down. If just reaching the arm forwards and keeping it in contact with the mat is where you're at today, that's an awesome regression. Okay, imagine that you were trying to balance a stick right in the center of your back. So there's no change in your spine, no big shifting in the weight. And we'll do one more. Now we'll move on to the legs, just making sure you have enough room behind you. Check in with your spine. And then from here, reach one leg back. And if you can, to hip height. Remember that when you lift to hip height, we don't switch, we don't open through the hip there. And we try our best not to lean to the opposite side. How high can I lift my leg without arching my back, right? Think length. How far back can you reach the leg? Keep pressing into the hands so the shoulders stay really strong. It's almost that sensation like you were pushing yourself out of a pool. Awesome. One more. And now from here, we're going to go opposite arm, opposite leg. We're going to go right arm, left leg, and back underneath. A little bit more balance challenge there. Keep pressing a lot into your stabilizing arm. The mat arm gets really strong and reaches. If you topple or wobble or fall, who cares? Come back to it. Give yourself a little giggle. Always nice to be able to laugh at yourself. Next side, we're going to hold. We're going to pulse the leg up an inch and down an inch. Watch that your center is still square to the mat. The pulses are little. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it come back under. Switch legs. Reach out and forwards and back with the leg and hold and pulse. Remember, this pulse comes from the leg, not the back. Push into the arm, hold for 5, pulse for 5. 3, 2, 1. Come down, take a little rest, come into a child's pose or just up to a kneeling position, whatever feels best. And then we're going to roll back up and come to face me in a Z-sit position. Okay, so you're going to have, I've got my left leg in front of me in this like,
1/2 is the irreducible fraction resulting from dividing 1 by 2, or the fraction resulting from dividing any number by its double.
Sorry.
Should I keep going?
And then from here, we're going to go internal rotation over here. So my left leg is in front of me. This leg is internally rotated. If this is not comfortable on either one of your knees, extend that leg forwards. If your hip is reaching up and off the floor so much, it's so uncomfortable to sit in this position, this is where you're going to grab your block. You're going to place the block underneath the opposite side of the pelvis. So just give you this little lift and hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to sit. Right? So I'm going to leave my block under there today. That feels better for me. And reach the arms out towards the other side. We're going to bring one arm down to the mat. If you're on a block, you'll probably only get the fingertips down. And then come up, because we don't want to come down so far that we feel like we're compressing the rib cage on this side. Just let the fingertips dust the mat if you're on a block and lift up and over. Get this nice big upper side body stretch. And then come back up, over to the opposite side. Just alternate back and forth today. Thinking just it's a nice heaviness to your sit bones, just so you feel rooted and grounded to the block or the mat. Over Oh, yeah. Bend over. Good class today. I hope you guys had fun. This will probably be our last exercise here. And up. Hold on the side away from the legs, okay? We're gonna rotate towards the mat, find a little rotation in the spine. Exhale. Inhale, come back out and open, stay there. Exhale, twist again. Spread the shoulder blades apart as you twist. Gentle draw in of the belly button, just gentle as you twist forwards. Keep that internally hip rotated back. Open. Exhale. Two more. Open the chest. Lift up and over. And exhale to the opposite side. Counter switch. Good. So now we're going to do the same thing with the arms and the spine, but switch the legs. So the opposite leg that you had in front will go back and vice versa. Okay? Just slide the block to the opposite side of hip, or you can try this side without the block. You can feel totally fine on this side. Okay. And finding this nice position here, we're going to reach the arms out, soft through the shoulders. We're going to let this arm come down, go away from the legs first. Fingertips touch. Just a little pressure through the mat, just so you feel like the bottom side ribs lift a little bit. And to the opposite. Breathe. 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 Lift. Exhale. One more to each side. Thinking of your ribs and your spine moving like a slinky would. We'll pause away from the legs on this side and we'll rotate forwards. And so that rotation comes from the upper body, the ribs are spiraling around, but the hip stays gently pulling backwards. Try not to be forceful in your movement. Just go to what feels good, nice little rotation, and think about you're rinsing all of the stress out of your body right now. Ready for the weekend, whatever that means. One more. Maybe exhale, maybe hold for just a brief moment. Come back out and open. Exhale to seated. Go ahead and actually come back down onto your backs. It's not really traditional to end Pilates classes on your backs. I mean, at least in my training. But I just want you to come back to the mat so you can notice the differences that you feel than when we started, if you can remember. Laying back down and finding that natural breath so that you're just noticing your position on the mat. Same knees bent, feet down. Check in with the pelvis. With your lower back. Does it feel any different since the start of class? Middle back and ribs. Shoulders, head and neck. Let's take one big deep breath together. Big inhale. And exhale all the way. Come on to your side. And rock yourself up to seated. And you are free to enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend. I'm going to be back with you guys next Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any time preferences, just let me know. And I love you guys. Thanks so much for joining. You're the best.